Today on Smart Home Dad, we look at a modernized bathroom and we make it a smart lit, modernized master bathroom. Check it out. Welcome back, YouTube, to Smart Home Dad. Today, as mentioned, we are going to add some smart lights and some motion sensing to a modernized bathroom. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. And if you have any questions about this video, ask them down below, and I'll be happy to help you guys out. So as mentioned, we're going to add some smart lights to our master bathroom, and we're going to use a Philips Hue motion sensor to help turn those lights on and off. This is a 3-gang switch that we're actually adding these lights to. So one of those is a normal toggle switch that we're going to switch out with this rocker paddle switch. We will be using Wemo smart light switches. These are just single pole switches, and I've done a video of those in the past. But also I've done a video on the motion sensor from Philips Hue. If you have any questions, check that video out right there. Now, jumping into the unboxing of the Philips Hue motion sensor again, check out that video that I did about the Philips Hue motion sensor for a lot more information about that and how we used it with automations in our stairwell. This Philips Hue motion sensor is a great option if you do have a Philips Hue hub in your house already. It works well with Apple HomeKit, obviously, but it can work with all of the other big automation brands as well. In the box, very simple, the motion sensor itself. You get a set of instructions on how to set up the Philips Hue motion sensor, and you also get a really cool magnet wall mount for this Philips Hue motion sensor. And this is a really straightforward setup. It's got a couple of different screws and an anchor that you can choose from. You'll just simply screw that into the wall, and then the magnet basically allows you a 360-degree kind of setup here when it's installed on the wall, and you can get different angles depending on how you want the motion sensor to sit on the wall and in what direction you need it to detect motion. Very cool setup here, included with the Philips Hue box. The next item is truly just a very simple rocker switch that I found on Amazon. You could probably get something cheaper if you go through one of your local stores, but in an effort to try and order everything through Amazon, I went ahead and ordered this rocker. It was probably $1.50 or maybe $2 on Amazon, and it will fit perfectly inside of the 3-gang switch wall plate that I bought. In addition to that, guys, the Wemo light switch. We've talked about this in the past, and again, that video that I have done, a more informational video about the Wemo switch, is right here. So go ahead and check that out if you have any questions about the Wemo switch. Today, a little bit more in depth as we go through the entire box here and actually installing these in their new locations in our master bathroom. Now, inside the box, you have your instruction manual that will actually have your Apple HomeKit scan code, but you'll be able to find your Apple HomeKit code on the front of the switch itself and also on the back, the scan code on the back of the switch that gets installed in the wall. In addition to that, it comes with the Wemo wall plate and also for wire nuts that you will need to install the wires from this into the actual wiring in your wall. Every one of these Wemo light switches come with this super sticky yellow warning label on the back that kind of keeps everything packaged up together. You'll want to remove that before you start any part of your installation. And on the back of the Wemo light switch, as mentioned, you'll have your HomeKit scan code, and also you'll have all of the different wires, a ground, neutral, your main line, as well. And this is pretty straightforward, but do keep in mind you need to be on a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi signal, and you also need to have a neutral wire. First thing we're going to go ahead and do, which is really simple, is go ahead and set up our Philips Hue motion sensor. And you'll do this right within the app itself, the Philips Hue app. You should be familiar with this if you have any Philips Hue products today, but go ahead and pull out that battery, that little plastic battery slip on the back of the motion sensor, and it'll pretty much direct you on exactly what to do here. Once you do that, I'll fast forward just a little bit here. You'll see that the blinking is going, and then eventually it will just go ahead and get connected into your Philips Hue app. From there, you can actually go ahead and set this up to work with any Philips Hue lights if you want to. In my case, I'm not going to do that because I want it to work on Wemo light switches. So after we went ahead and set up the motion sensor light, I went ahead and tested it in multiple locations to make sure that I was getting motion sensing. And what we determined was that we wanted to go ahead and install this right above the door at an angle, and with the magnetic base, the Philips Hue motion sensor works pretty well in this corner to capture all motion in the bathroom, with it being a little bit hidden and not so visible. So we kind of like this location for that, in an effort to make sure that we are hitting the motion sensing so that it will turn the lights on as you enter the bathroom. And I really can't comment enough about how great a setup this is. With that little magnet that fits on the back of this motion sensor, you truly get that feeling of wireless, no charging required on this thing. It's a great motion sensor, and the setup is really nice, and you can really put this thing and set it up however you really want to. Now, the next thing I wanted to do was in location, I want to go ahead and test and make sure that motion sensing was being activated and kind of get a feel for how quickly it was being activated. So you can see there that we did get motion sensing once the door opens up going into the master bathroom. Now, the next thing we have to do is go ahead and get these Wemo light switches set up. Now, keep in mind that these do work on a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi band, and because I use Orbi mesh Wi-Fi in my house, I have to actually kind of bypass that functionality of Orbi, which basically builds a tunnel and auto directs whatever device. If you can do 5, it'll put you on 5. If you can only do 2.4, it'll put you on 2.4. So in this case, I have to actually go ahead and unplug my Orbi satellite that's downstairs and go to the farthest point that I can find a single pulse switch in my house and install these lights. Follow the instructions to make sure that you have connected your wires properly, and then go ahead and download the Wemo app. From the Wemo app, you'll go ahead and select the install of your Wemo light switch. And when you click on your Wemo light switch, you'll have the option to determine which switch you're using, the older version or the new version. In this case, we're doing the new version, so make sure you select that. It'll ask if it's blinking blue. This is a really quick setup, guys. The next step is to go ahead and scan the Apple HomeKit barcode on the back, and just note that I am using iOS 14 beta, so this might look a little bit different from what you're used to seeing. And once you go ahead and do that, Apple HomeKit will look to connect the switch, and that will take just a few minutes as it indicates here. Now, because we're installing 2 of these switches, we need to go ahead and do this again, but don't forget to plug your Orbi mesh Wi-Fi system back in. And remember that that's just something we had to do in order to actually get these switches connected. Then we'll move them to their final spot. In Apple HomeKit, you'll see that you can go in and, again, modify your switch names, as I did here for shower and vanity. Make sure you do that. But the final thing to do before you unplug your switches is go ahead and go through the firmware updates. So in the Wemo app, you may need to go through the process of discovering them. The Wemo app is pretty straightforward, pretty simple, and it will actually detect unlinked Wemo light switches. So you can go ahead and link them here directly into your Wemo account. It'll ask if you want to do any kind of scheduling. You don't need to do that right now, so you can skip that part. Do your firmware updates as mentioned, and then from there, you're good to go. After those firmware updates are complete, we'll go ahead and unplug those from their setup locations, and we will go ahead and move into our actual master bathroom. Now, one thing that was really helpful for me was to go ahead and make sure that I labeled these lights, because we're on a 3-gang switch, just so I knew which one was which. We have a fan, the vanity lights, and the shower lights. So the process here, go ahead and unscrew all of the old faceplate screws and pull out all of your light switches. For me, it's really simple just to go ahead and cut the existing light switches out, score the wires, and pull off the ends and install each light switch and our rocker switch. The fan is what I'm going to go ahead and put on the rocker switch, and that's the first one that you see here. So installing that. Now installing the Wemo light switch. Basically, you need to match up the wires on the Wemo light switch to the wires coming out of the wall. Green for ground, black will be your live wire, and then what you want to do is make sure that you determine which of your wires coming out of the wall are black. Most of the time they're just going to be black. In this case, generally you can find that on the back of the light switch. So match up your live with black, you'll do the other wire to red, and then of course go ahead and sync up your neutral wire with all of the neutral wire setups. Go ahead and install the other Wemo light switch, and then carefully push all of your wires back into the wall and start the process of screwing these into the existing wall outlet area. Now, as mentioned in the past, make sure that you leave these screws just a little bit loose, especially in a 3-gang switch setup. There's a lot of movement here and things are very tight because you got a lot more extra wires in the background there. So do make sure that they're just a little bit loose so you can move them around so they fit properly in your new wall plate. And these are screwless wall plates, so you want them to look really good. So make sure that everything is a little bit loose. These wall plates give you a little bit of space to go ahead and tighten everything back down, and then your faceplate will just click into place and you're basically good to go. So now we have a clean 3-gang screwless wall plate setup with 2 smart light switches that control the lights and a rocker switch that controls the fan in the master bathroom. And as you can see in Apple HomeKit, we created the master bathroom room. And these lights, you can go ahead and go in and unfavorite them from the main screen, do all of your normal settings that you want to do, that you would standardly do inside of Apple HomeKit here. Your motion sensor for Philips Hue, all that's right here, guys. So the first thing we're going to do is set up our daily light automation. So using sensor automation when motion is detected with our master bathroom Hue motion sensor, you can go ahead and set this up to work at a specific time during the day or at night, or you can run it anytime. For this particular automation setup, we're just going to run it at any time, and you'll click next. And then the next thing is to go ahead and select which lights you want to control. We want to control our new Wemo light switches on the shower and vanity, and you'll either want them to turn on or turn off. You can determine how long you want them to stay on. In this case, we'll set it up for 2 minutes. Now our next automation are late night lights. So again, a sensor detects something. We will select our master bathroom Hue motion sensor, and we want it to turn on when it detects motion at specific times. And for this one, we're going to run it at 12 a.m. and we will run it at between 12 a.m. and 5. I think we're going to go with 5:30 a.m. And this is a special time at night where we basically just want this to run to turn on our shower light, because that's just one light in the bathroom and it's not too crazy if you get up really late, you gotta go to the bathroom, or you need to go in the master bathroom for anything. We'll go ahead and set it for a 1-minute turn off as well. Now the third automation we want to run is going to be no motion option. You don't have to set this up because you are going to have the lights turning off in the other 2 automations, but just as an example, you can set this up to do a stop detecting motion setup automation as well. And in this case, we want to say if we stop detecting motion, we want to turn off the shower and vanity lights. And as you can see, when you walk in the master bathroom, our lights turn on. So guys, thank you for your time today. Please do take a minute to subscribe. And if you have any questions about this setup or any setups, please ask down below. I'll be happy to help you out. And other than that, guys, again, do subscribe, like this video, and thank you so much for your time today. Smart Home Dad signing off.